is going on?
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. We're not doing this in the morning, are we? Oh.
Unfortunately,
Oh.
it's the only way. It's the only way to bring content to our ever-growing fans.
I know. Well, this is Whiskey with an Agent. This is episode number 30.
Oh
30.
boy,
Man, we are getting up there. We are. Wow.
still miles behind.
Miles behind, but miles ahead of somebody that's not doing them. I'll tell you that much.
That is very true, sir. No argument here.
This is episode number 30, and as Chris pointed out, we do pre-record some of these. We're trying to do a live show once a month, just because of our schedules are so busy. But nonetheless, we wanted to get content and talk about real estate topics, and that's exactly what we are going to do today, but not before we talk about some whiskey, because why? Because the name of the show, it's called Whiskey with an Agent. Chris and I are real estate agents. We like whiskey, and
we'd like to talk about both.
That's right.
We like to enjoy both. We enjoy both very much.
Very much so. So my name's Jared Allison, and we've got...
I'm Chris Neun.
Chris Neun. Well, my ear itches.
With that being said, Jared, what are you hypothetically drinking today?
Oh, let me tell you, man. I got this for Christmas, and I had never had it before, but it is Elijah Craig.
You can't go wrong with Elijah Craig.
I had never had it. Oh my goodness, it is so freaking good. Mm-hmm. It is really good.
I like it with an old fashioned as well. There's quite a few whiskeys that I like with old fashions.
It's good for an old fashioned?
Pretty good. I think it's good for an old fashioned. I've had it with an old fashioned. It's really good. Of course, it depends on your bitters that you're using and the other ingredients, which is not much, mainly bitters. True. And then if you're using like simple syrup or some kind of a sugar cube, all that can play into a part with the taste of an old fashioned. But an Elijah Craig is a really good one. I like it with that. Four Roses. I even like it with Basil Hayden. Angel's Envy. There's some really good stuff out there. Ooh, Buffalo Trace is actually a really good old fashioned.
Buffalo Trace, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, I was reading when I got the bottle, and I was looking up because like I said, I'd heard of it and really know like much about it. I mean, it says Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, so it's a bourbon whiskey, not just a regular old whiskey. But Elijah Craig, he's Reverend Elijah Craig. He was a Baptist preacher, an educator, an entrepreneur who built the first paper and wool mills in Georgetown, Kentucky.
That's freaking dope.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought a reverend would have his name on a bottle of whiskey? Imagine that, right?
That is an odd one, but it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. But it says, for all his industries, it was his gift as a distiller and an innovator that brought him his greatest acclaim, which is his whiskey. So he was a reverend, but he was better at making whiskey.
There's something there. I feel like it has something.
I wonder if he's like up there preaching, and somebody comes to him with problems, and he's like, you know what? Go drink some whiskey. That'll help you out. And everybody's like, man, you should start a distillery. He's like, you know what? I might.
I think I just might.
And then one day, a podcast is going to talk about it and bring up old stuff.
The history
about how
of
he used to be a reverend.
A reverend with a drinking problem.
Maybe. I don't know.
Possible. I mean, back in the day, everyone had a drinking problem.
Very true.
So I am drinking something that my father-in-law got me.
Oh, okay.
A giant bottle of Jack Daniels. Gentleman Jack Daniels. This thing is bigger than my head.
Nice.
So my father-in-law used to drink this stuff a lot, and he doesn't drink very much of it anymore, but since I drink whiskey, he got me this for like a Christmas gift, and I'm just like, I love it. I'll never be short of whiskey.
Is it like, does it have like a real bite to it, or like what?
It does. It does. I don't care what kind of Jack Daniels it is, whether it's the low end or the high end. It is known for its bite, and a lot of people, it's one of the cheaper whiskeys too. So a lot of people who start drinking whiskey, or like young kids, young guys, young people, they they're usually the first whiskey they try is Jack Daniels, and it completely turns them off to the taste because it's just gross.
Really?
Um, yeah, but this is something that I usually don't drink and can't drink straight just because it's just too much for me.
Right.
This is definitely something for a party at the house, you know. Put
Okay.
some
You gotta
um
put some ice in it or something.
put some ice on it with a little bit of a chaser, you know, whether it be Coke or something else. But I mean, Jack and Coke is some of the one of the greatest concoctions. A
Oh
simple,
yeah. I mean
great
that was
concoction ever.
that was my go-to as young Jared was growing up in the downtown area of Orlando, and we'd hit the clubs and you'd go up to the
Yeah,
bar. One Jack and
good
Coke,
Jack and Coke.
please. One Jack
Yep,
and
and
Coke.
it's really relatively inexpensive too.
It
Um,
was.
and so it does it give you a bad hangover the next day? Most likely. But
Right.
is it a great little party drink to sip on? Absolutely.
Of
You don't
course.
want to like drink Old Forester at a party.
No. No, no, no.
Excuse me.
Easy now.
So I
Does
mean,
it say on the bottle? Does it have that little old number 7 on it? Is that
it's,
on
well,
that's on
that's
every Jack Daniel bottle, right?
the black label. Yes, the
Okay.
black label. So this
Cuz
one's Gentleman Jack.
okay.
So there's a difference. It's just like how there are different types of oceans, Jefferson Oceans, and
Right,
different
right.
levels of Whistle Pig, different levels of Old Forester. Same thing with Jack Daniels. They have um, Old Number Seven. They got
Well,
the Gentleman Jack, the Single Barrel, Straight Jack, and they got a handful.
nice. The reason I was asking is because so I as I was looking up some stuff about the whiskey, Old Number 7 was the old district that the distillery was in. It was so I guess let me see. Old Number 7 brand name was the number assigned to Daniel's distillery for government registration. He was forced to
It was
change
a
the
permit.
registration. What's that?
So it was a permit.
Basically, he said he was forced to change the registration number when the federal government redrew the district, and he became number
Hmm.
16 in District 5 instead, and he used to be uh, num number 7 in District 4, so therefore old number 7. So now
Huh.
he's number 16, but it's the old number 7.
I
So I
like
was
number
like,
seven better.
"Huh, yeah, I mean, it just sounds cooler, 16." Well, I
It
mean, you got
does.
like 007, old number
Oh,
7.
it's so true.
7 is just such a better number than be like, "Hey, we're
The
16."
16.
Whatever. Nobody wants to be nobody wants to be 16.
Yeah, no one wants to be 16. I
Nobody.
mean, there's I mean, a 7 is also like something important in, like, I think craps, like when you're
Oh,
playing
yeah. See,
poke
there you
when you're
go. Yeah.
like having a number 7 is like,
Mhm.
I think, a lucky number. Actually, I think 7 is a lucky number.
I think so. I haven't played craps in forever. Hey, what do you think, and this is gonna be, like,
Yeah,
very, very
7.
subjective, but according to
Hmm.
grimsdyke.com, I don't know. What is the number 1 whiskey in the world? You've
Ooh, so does it have to be a whiskey though? Could it be a scotch? Because I would probably say, oh, well, they're one and the same. Never mind. Sorry.
They
Just
are.
depending on location.
They are, yeah. So that's why I was talking to a friend of mine the other night. Is when you go to Scotland, you go to the bar and you don't
They
order a
call it whiskey.
scotch. You just like order a whiskey. It's just like American food,
I'm
Chinese
not gonna
food, stuff
lie.
like that.
I think I would argue that Scotland whiskey is probably the number one. One of the probably within the top like five. I don't think
Yeah,
American whiskey is on there. Is on that top 10 list, top 5 or 10 list.
it's not a top 10, but it's here they said what is considered to be the best whiskey, and it is
Mm,
called uh, the Glenmorangie Signet. Signet.
Signet.
I have not seen that one, but I'm definitely gonna look for it now.
Me too.
I wonder how much.
Glenmorangie
I wonder
Signet.
it. I bet it's
Like Glenmorangie. That's actually not that expensive. The Total
what how
Wine's got it
much.
for 250. There's
Okay,
another one. There's a
That's
You got the
definitely one that I would not be pouring a little bit in the glass, swirl it around, and dump it
right.
out.
Looks like it's 170 euro.
Okay, so probably about $200 or
I
100,
mean, I'm on their
180,
website.
190.
Yeah, I'm on their website right now. Like the glenmorangie.com products, the Signat.
Yep.
And hold on, it's prompted me to provide my age.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and put your credit card in there, and I bet they'll
I know,
send you a
right?
bottle.
I put the year instead of the um I put the year instead of my birthday on accident. It says you're too young.
Oh, Chris, come on.
I know. It's that morning times.
I know.
Uh it looks like a beautiful bottle.
Beautiful
um,
body.
right?
No, it does.
So
It looks, I mean, obviously, I'm sure they've got some really nice pictures on there to make it more appealing, but yeah, Glenmorangie Signet. Am I saying that right? Signet
s-
Signet?
your guess is
Signet.
the
I
first
don't
time
know.
you said it. The first time you said it sounds good.
Yeah,
It looks
I
like they
like
have
it.
another one called the Mocha Reimagined, inspired by the simple pleasure found in a cup of coffee. Comes the signets, spiraling explosion of flavor. The sizzling spices and a burst of bitter mocha mellowed to a smooth butterscotch. Ooh,
Ooh, that sounds really good. Because I have that
actually,
butter.
I hate butterscotch, but it
I'm
sounds
not a
really
big
good.
fan, but I have that one butterscotch whiskey. I'm sure it's not anywhere near as good as what this is, but the butterscotch, I kind of like that little bit of a hint of butterscotchy, flavor
Hmm.
in the whiskey. It sort of it rounds it out. It sort of mellows it out a little bit for my taste. Obviously, this is
Yeah,
a subjective list. Like whenever everybody's gonna have different tastes, but this is what they say. Glenmorangie. Is it Glenmorangie or Glenmorangie?
yeah,
I've heard different
Glenmorangie.
Glenmorangie. I've heard
Yeah.
it different ways. I wasn't sure, but yeah. So
Oof.
that's whiskey.
That sounds really good.
I
As
know.
Dr. Bill, our free thinking director of whiskey curation, enjoyed a cup of his favorite Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, the notion of the signet first came to him. It was once his mind filled with the sparkling mocha flavors that he could not forget. It would take him years to bring our unprecedented whiskey to life, but in its tiramisu tones and melting chocolate, you can taste its most delicious imaginings.
My
I'm
goodness.
like so looking to get
That
this.
sounds like that sounds like a description of some like fancy dessert or something. Holy
Right?
cow, man.
This should
That's
be eaten. Over the years, we temper its power with rare and treasured casks, bourbon for creaminess, sherry for sweetness, and a
mhm.
spice of virgin charred oak, all balanced with some of the oldest whiskey we own. God damn! So
Nice.
it's really the best whiskey in the world is for coffee. It's a coffee.
Yeah. I wonder if it has like much of a
Are you sure this is right?
coffee coffee flavor. I'm not a big fan of coffee, so now I'm sort of getting skeptical about it now.
I was
I
still.
don't know.
I imagine it's tone, like the
Yeah.
not an over abundance of like flavor.
I don't know. Maybe the next time I'm passing through a duty free, I'll see if they have it on discount.
Yeah, right. Glenmorangie 18 extremely rare. Oh man, I'm diving down. It's only
Yeah.
$100. What?
Yeah, the 18 I've had the Glenmorangie 12 and
Hmm.
that one's good stuff. I got to pick up another bottle of that for a buddy of mine.
I might be spending some money right here, bro.
Uh-oh. Like I said, man, you put your credit card in there, I guarantee they will send you a bottle.
Probably.
They might even send you two.
I think so. Uh, let's
All
see.
right.
Oh boy, this is great. Starting at $800.
So welcome to Whiskey with an Agent, where Chris shops for whiskey for the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's like so it like entraps you. It's like once you get into it and you start looking around, you just don't want to stop.
Mm-mm.
But
You keep going, man.
all right, let's jump into some real estate stuff. So that's the whiskey stuff. Let's jump into some real estate stuff. And what we're going to talk about today is so there's always every year there's trending renovations kind of for each year, and they've actually what used to be popular back in the early 2000s and the early 90s, it sort of changes, if not year to year or every several years, as trends change, and what are some things that you should actually do in order to make your house look better when you're getting ready to sell it, just or to increase the value and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
one of the things is, I mean, so obviously we've had the pandemic, that sort of changed a lot of the way people use their house. I mean, a lot of people before, I mean, they were, we got out, people went to actual brick and mortar buildings and went to work, but now we have a lot of people actually staying home and working from their homes. So I know that's like kind of been one of the trends. I don't know if you've looked at it, Chris, but making sure that if you upgrade like your home office, that's like
Mhm.
that is one of the new trends for 2023.
Yeah.
That
There's that, as well as just overall the DIY projects really
they
skyrocketed because
did.
people were trapped home. Like, what do we do? They're going
Yeah.
stir crazy. So
Yep.
there was this huge push to just, well, now we have time to do all these home projects, which
Right.
also affected if you remember a year ago, Jared, we were talking about the cost of wood and
Oh
how
yeah.
DIY projects were a big
Hmm.
proponent to that push.
Yeah.
It hasn't slowed down.
It hasn't,
Um,
but
it hasn't.
lumber prices have tapered off a little bit. Of
Mhm.
my buddy who he's building his second home, or he's building another house for some clients of his, and
Nice.
he's a contractor, and I was asking him about lumber price, and he's like, yeah, it's actually, he said it's not quite back to where it used to be, a few years ago, but it's definitely not, as high. He said it's probably maybe like 15% above like where we were before. So it's come back
Mhm.
down significantly because he's noticed it in his cost of, when he's buying material and stuff building the house. So but yeah, all the DIY projects, man, it shot the lumber prices and just everything in general, DIY.
Mhm.
All of those prices went up pretty pretty heavily. So yeah, home offices, that's going to be one of the, the big renovations. That's the new trend for this year. Updating your home office if you're getting ready to sell it, because that is an attractive thing for buyers that are looking for, to be able to work from home. And then the other one that kind of came about from the pandemic is the fact that, yes, people are spending more time at home. So the outdoor living spaces, whether it's like an outdoor porch or, like a little patio with the fireplace, anything that you can do to set up the outside is key, because like I said, a lot of people are spending more home or more time at home. What about like, have you been, do you notice yourself, like, do you guys spend more time at home, or is it kind of the same because you already worked from home anyways?
No, I definitely spend a lot more time at home working than I do at the office.
Yeah.
That I was an in the office every single day guy.
Oh, were you
And
before the pandemic? Okay.
before the pandemic, and then because this room wasn't set up, this was just I guess a junk room, in lack of a better term.
Yeah.
This because and it wasn't being utilized, and so it wasn't until during the pandemic when things started picking up, but the office was closed. So I just converted this room into the my office and just worked out of here. And I want to get back into the office some more, but
Yeah.
it's just I guess taking getting back into the routine of going back to the office is like I guess kind of the issue because I do so many videos too.
True. True. Yeah. Yeah.
In meetings, and it's harder to do virtual meetings in an office full of people.
That is
or
true.
not
Yeah.
having the equipment either. But we definitely find ourselves doing more home projects
Do
as
you?
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're here. She's
Yeah.
Bethany works from home now too, so we're
Yeah.
both here, and we enjoy it. We enjoy each other's company. We're not at each other's throats yet, so
Not yet. That's good. No, it
yeah.
was kind of the same for me. I mean, obviously, I kind of came into real estate during the pandemic, so for me, it was just, I had to work from home, and it's more natural for me to get up and just be able to come right into my home office and get to work. I've got
Hmm.
two big computer screens right here, and
Yep.
I've got my podcast studio set up, and I record a
Yep.
lot here, and everything. So, but yeah, it is important to have that home office, and then the outdoor living space. Obviously, like I said,
Hmm.
more people are spending time at home than when you're out of your office. You want a place to go and hang out, because at one point, I mean, we couldn't go anywhere and the restaurants
Yeah.
were shut down, bars were shut down, so we had to have a spot here to hang out with the family other than just be inside all the time.
Hmm.
So yeah, outdoor living spaces, like I said, if you're trying to think of something to spruce up the home or upgrade it or make it more appealing to a buyer, definitely doing some outdoor renovations or upgrades, a back porch, or upgrading your front porch, with
Hmm.
pavers, and just kind of making it look nice and homey, and
Hmm.
just a spot to hang out outside.
Yep, I can't agree more. A lot of people are focused on the inside. A lot of
Yeah.
flippers are focused on the inside, which I get. Everyone wants a nice, updated, neutral tones and beautiful countertops and bathrooms and stuff like that. I get it, but
Yeah.
if you want something kind of functional as well for where a majority of the society right now is inside, or at least at their house, you got to throw like a porch or a patio of some kind, like
Yeah.
covered space, or even just a wood space.
Right.
Um, our investment property, we have these two giant slabs that are right next to each other, and like
Hmm.
a perfect, almost like a perfect rectangle, and we're making that into a deck underneath this big oak tree. And
Nice.
so it's gonna be very inviting, and a lot of people want that at home kind of hangout spot.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, yeah, it's going that way. It's not gonna. I don't think that's gonna change. Um,
Mhm.
so then, and then you talked about some of the inside, or we've talked about inside, and the outside and the home office and stuff.
Mhm.
But bathroom and kitchen upgrades. I mean, I don't think those are ever gonna be not a trendy thing to do. I mean, that is definitely
Mhm.
something that
Yeah.
and yeah,
They
whether
they get
it's
the most they get the most wear and tear. Like
yes,
your kitchen is your
exactly.
number one most occupied room in a house.
Yep.
The kitchen. It's the feeding area as well as the hangout area.
Oh yeah.
In terms of like rooms occupied the most, it's kitchens first.
Yep.
Then it's like living rooms, and
Yep.
then like bathrooms and bedrooms are down
Yep.
in the bottom
And
bottom
that's
list.
why that's why you see a lot of those kitchens nowadays that are it's like that open air kitchen. So basically it's
Mm-hmm.
it's the kitchen, and then you have like your den, living room, family room, whatever you call it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all one
It's
big
all
room,
there.
but it's just separated by like an island in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Ours is sort of like that. We do have a wall, we have our kitchen, but like you said, I mean, we spend literally probably 85-90% of the time in the kitchen, because I do a lot of cooking, and everybody's hanging out while I'm cooking, and
Yeah.
we got the dining room table that's right there next to the kitchen, so people are sitting there, I'm cooking, we're having some drinks on the island or whatever. And so
Yep.
yeah, I mean, anything you can do to brighten it up and just make it more inviting, because yeah, you're going to be spending most of your time there.
Yep.
And then I guess, bathrooms, I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time in the bathroom, but
No, you
it's
don't. You're there to do business and get out.
but
That's
it's
it.
it's so crazy, like how some of these bathrooms I see are just like extravagant. I mean, they put so much money into these bathrooms, which, I mean, yes, it does look nice, and it is, nice to be able to walk in there and you're going to take a shower, and or
Mhm.
you have a nice big bathtub and stuff, but it does kind of go with the theme of people are spending more time at home. So they want that other room to maybe go and have that spa, kind of feel when after you've been working and then you're in your
Mhm.
nice kitchen and you're hanging out, and then it's like, oh man, I just need to relax. You're not going to do that in the
Yeah.
kitchen. You're not going to do that in your office. You wanting to go to the bathroom and use like have like a nice big tub and sort of that spa feel. So I get
Mhm.
it. The bathroom is still going to be an important part of the house, and making it look nice for an appeal to a new buyer.
Especially an up and coming buyer, because if you think about it, more often than not, a buyer is going to be. We know that 29 to 32% of buyers are first time home buyers, so they want that element of
Yep.
new. They don't want to go into a house having to fix or renovate or anything like that. Um, and a lot of times, with the affordability index being an all time low, they don't have the money to fix it up and stuff like
True.
that. So, but there are some amazing, amazing things on a very, very cost effective way that you guys can just spruce up your home and make it look really nice. Board and batten is probably at an all time high right now in terms of trends, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There are so many just amazing, sick, beautiful, very smart designs and things that you could be done with it.
Yeah, you don't have to go crazy, and obviously it's easy to go in there, especially a kitchen. Oh my god, it's so easy to go in there and spend like 20, 30,000
30,
dollars just
$50,000.
on
Yeah.
a kitchen. By the time you get new appliances, cabinets, floors, countertops, all that stuff, but
All of
it,
that
you know,
hardware.
yeah, it doesn't have to be that much, especially like bathrooms. Some people, they'll go overboard in a bathroom, but honestly, man, I've seen some really, really nice bathrooms, some like Home Depot bathrooms. You go buy a pre-made vanity, it's already got everything. You just, fasten it to the wall, you hook it up,
Mhm.
and you can do
You're good to
so
go.
much with so little, and it's
Yeah.
so cheap. And I mean, I've seen some really nice bathrooms done for like maybe $1,000, if that.
Mhm.
Just some nice little
Yeah.
decorations. It looks clean, it looks modern, it looks
Yep.
inviting, relaxing, whatever.
Yep. And you got
So,
YouTube University, you got, Instagram,
oh
and I'm
yeah,
not the biggest proponent of TikTok, but there's tons of stuff on TikTok that, that does promotes and individuality of getting out there that you can do this yourself. You do
of
not have to
course.
hire somebody.
Right.
So,
And then so to hit on that point though, so then as far as like your return of investment, you're not always going to get 100% return on your investment, and
you can't overappreciate.
the
Yeah.
more you the more you can do yourself and you're not having to pay a contractor, it's going to close that gap a little bit. So if you were, let's say you spent, you know, 30 grand on a kitchen, and you're paying a contractor, 15 of that was contractor cost or whatever. I don't know how much contractor cost, but um, if you're able to do a lot of that work yourself, or try to, cut down on some of the construction costs or the labor costs, I guess is what I'm thinking. You're going to close that gap. You're going to be able to almost get back what you put into it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Really depends on what you're doing and to the area, and if you plan on selling it, you
right.
can't over appreciate it. And
Hmm.
so it's a fine line. You gotta know what you're doing for the most part.
Yep. Alrighty, we had to take a quick break. Chris had to run his pup over to the vet. Something about he got broken leg. You're trying to fight an armadillo. What are you setting up, like a illegal dog fighting or something with wild animals? What's going
I don't
on?
know. Wild animals like to mess with my dogs, man. I don't know what to tell you. So like we have we pretty much back up to a conservation, and so we get possums, raccoons, feral cats, armadillos, coyotes, bears. And so my dog, my female, she loves to sit out there and just be at attention and alert. And the other night, she got past me and went straight after an armadillo. And when she came back limping really hard. I'm like, I know that armadillo didn't do shit to you, but she was limping really hard. And her dew claw was just like pointing straight out. and didn't look pretty. She
Yikes.
couldn't walk on her at all. Took her to the vet this morning. Luckily, nothing was broken, but her dew claw nail was just like shredded for the most part. So got her on
Ouch.
antibiotics and some pain meds for the next like week. So
I bet you that cost you more than a home renovation.
almost more than a couple bottles of
Oh
whiskey.
man.
More
Yeah.
than a couple
It's
bottles of
it's
whiskey.
it's never cheap when you go to pay at the vet, man. It's like I
Mm,
can't get out of there with less than maybe $150 or something. It's by the time you
yeah,
do your visit, your checkup, blood work, whatever they got to do,
yeah.
and then they're hitting you
It's
up for like, yeah, that's gonna be $150, $200 today. I'm like, ooh,
three hundred
dang,
dollars.
should have just
Yeah.
left you at home.
Yeah.
Just
Should
wrap it up and walk it off, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, right. Just rub some dirt on to be fine. But
Yeah,
she's our child, and so is our other male. So
yeah,
I got to start looking at like possibly doing insurance for dogs. I know Banfield does one, and there's a couple other companies as well.
yeah. There is. I know it can get kind of pricey though. It can
Yeah,
get a little
well, yeah, it depends on the
expensive.
monthly or the yearly, and it depends on your plan. Just like typical insurance.
Yeah, yeah. It's always any kind of insurance, homeowners insurance, car insurance. It's
Yeah,
you never want to pay it until you need it, and then you're like, oh man, I wish I had insurance.
right. Sometimes.
So, but before you left, we were about to talk about, or we were talking about some of the different home trends and stuff. And what we were getting ready to talk about was being energy efficient. So going into the era of electric cars and everything, everybody's trying to be more energy efficient. I have an electric car. I plug it in at home and it charges overnight.
Nice.
Um, so having, that's some of the other things that I'm starting to see is like electric car chargers, whether it's like some sort of official, if it's a Tesla one or some other EV kind of charger, or you just install like a 50 amp plug in your garage or somewhere around the house that you can plug into.
Mhm.
That and then solar. Solar has been another big one, and then the battery backup. There's companies that are selling battery backups where you can get it installed in your garage or in some sort of enclosure, and then it powers most of your house. Like it comes in, it charges the battery through solar, and then it powers most of your house. Some of the basically the essentials. So it's almost replacing like having a generator at your house. Have you shown houses? Have you sold houses with solar panels like that or
So
battery?
I mean, solar panels are only good if you have a battery. That's it. I mean,
Well, yeah,
because
yeah,
if the power goes out and you don't have a battery with stored power in
correct,
it, you're
correct,
SOL. Like that's useless. It really is.
right.
In my opinion. And so I have sold homes with solar on it. I've helped
Yeah,
buyers purchase homes with solar on it, and it really comes down to if that solar is paid off or not. And it could be an absolute headache for a lot of people, a lot of
it
buyers
could
and
be.
sellers, if
Yeah,
especially if it's not paid off, and if it's not paid in full or at time of
right.
closing, if the buyers have to inherit that cost now,
That
then it
that
could affect
cost.
their debt to
Yeah.
income ratio.
Yep.
Um, so
Typically,
it's
it. So what happens typically with solar panels, and when you take out a loan, essentially they'll put a lien on the house. It's secondary to the mortgage. That's what. So I have a water filtration system for my house, and that's essentially what they do. You take out a loan for the system, and then they put a lien against the house. So essentially, I can't. If I was going to sell the house, I would have to pay that loan off in order to sell the house to get rid of that lien. So it's
Mhm.
essentially usually that's what happens with um, like solar panels and things like that
Yeah,
that are physically attached to the house, but it's a separate kind of loan. You can't just sell that house and be like, I'm not paying it no more. I don't own the
yeah,
house. No, no, no.
yeah.
They're going to get the money.
Yeah, it's either due on sale or there is a like I said, that buyer has to inherit that cost. I think we're still in the very beginning stages of when it comes to the solar panels, and there's even like solar shingles now that are coming into
Right.
play. There's a lot of new construction builders that are adding it as part of their standard process of packaging for homes, where they adding solar, but I think you still have to pay for it, but not nearly as much if you got it after the fact. Um, and so I really like the idea of going, solar and getting us off this grid, but our infrastructure is still miles, and I say miles, I mean years behind on its updates, to where I don't
Right.
think it's, unless we do something drastic to help our infrastructure support solar, then it's, I don't know yet. I don't know.
There's still a
It
lot of regulations that are coming out about it, and the power companies don't like solar so much, so they're trying to they're trying to make it more expensive for you to buy solar. So by essentially raising the minimum price, because if I'm using solar, I'm not using their energy, but I'm still connected to their grid, so
Yeah, because you can't be off
they
the
want me
grid.
to pay, right.
Yeah.
So, it's there's little things like that. So there's still a lot of regulations to be done, and for those,
Hmm.
for everything to get figured out. But nonetheless, it's still a trend that is coming up as we move into the future.
Yep.
So, um, so then aside from that, the last thing that really that they're talking about, and I mean, it makes sense. Roofing, roofs. Roofs is. I mean, it's not really a update to your home. I mean, I guess it could be depending on what kind of roof you get. But given that the insurance companies are literally dropping, like, well, number one, they're dropping out of Florida. Number two, they're dropping customers because their roof is not. It's like 15 years old.
So we're back again. I was having some microphone issues, but we were just talking about roofs. And so insurance companies are dropping dropping customers because of, well, all the hurricanes that we've had. And they're dropping customers when their roof is like 15 years old. It's not even that old. It still has
Yeah.
like a good 6 or 7 years lifespan.
Yeah. Depending on that roof, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have, if it's a 3 tab, you're going to have about 3 years. If it's a
Yeah.
architectural, you're going to have like another, well, if it's a 3 tab, it's almost done. If it's an architectural, you have another, like, yeah, 9, 10 years
Yeah.
left.
And they're dropping people. So I mean, so roofs are, because, and this is kind of specific to Florida, but roofs are kind of a trend, not a trendy thing, but it is a thing that you really have to, as a homeowner and a seller, you have to address, because a buyer, they can't buy your house if they're getting a loan. They can buy it with cash
Yeah.
without homeowners insurance, but if they're getting a loan, they have to have homeowners insurance. And if the insurance isn't going to if they're not going to cover it because of the roof, well,
Yeah.
somebody has to buy a roof. So,
Yeah. And a lot of times it's going to be the seller. The seller is going to be one stuck with that, getting and paying for a new roof,
right.
especially if you have an older roof that is pretty much at or near the end of its life. And then, 3 months ago, you thought it was a good idea to put a solar thing on there. Well,
Yeah.
you really put yourself into a big pickle.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of solar companies do not educate the sellers, being that, like, hey, listen, you have to replace that roof.
Right.
They don't care. So,
No, they
in
just,
my neighborhood, there's about 4 or 5 homes. I kid you not, Jared. 4 or 5 homes that the roofs are dead, dead. A 3 tab slab, milled and molded, just all over it. It does not look pretty. In some places, it's flaring.
yep.
The edges are flaring, and they have
Yep.
solar panels. They have brand new solar panels on there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that
Yep.
is stupid.
Yeah. I think if I got them, I don't know that I would put them on the roof. I think, or on my house, I've got enough area where I'd probably have a section of my property and just put them on the ground somewhere, and make sure they're protected by a fence or something. But it's, yeah,
I would
I don't
probably
know.
consider that. I mean, if you have enough yard space, I would definitely recommend putting them on the ground. and then
Yeah.
like put a fence around it or something, than on the roof of your house. Because when they drill it into the roof of through the shingles and everything, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
put like a putty or a sealant around there. But
Mm-hmm.
if anyone's lazy, or if anyone messes up or doesn't do enough, that sealant's gonna leak. It's gonna break apart. It's gonna allow water to come through, and it's not going to be pretty when next you looking up and there's water coming through,
Right.
and you're gonna have to contact the solar people, and
Yeah.
I
Good
guarantee
luck.
they're gonna push back on that. I guarantee
Good
they're gonna
luck with
push
that.
back. Yeah, they're
But
sorry, we're
here's
not reliable.
aside from solar panel, have you seen the I think Tesla has them? They're actual roof shingles that are
Yeah.
the solar panels. So they get installed just like a regular shingle,
Mhm.
but the shingle itself is a solar panel and it's connected through some sort of grid, and
Yeah.
you don't have like all this extra hardware that's sitting on top of your roof. So
Yep.
that is an option. It's not. I don't think it's cost effective to run out and just replace your roof right away. But if you are looking at a new roof,
Mhm.
it is an option. And I don't know how available they are. I don't think they're very widely available right now, but
Not widely. I think they're
it's
still in beta.
yeah. So, but it will be something that's coming down the pipeline. That is something to consider if maybe you're not due for another roof,
Mhm.
for a new roof, in 15 or 20 years or something.
Yeah, which I would
So
be open minded to that, but
they are
again,
they
it's
are
just like I don't
expensive
even
though.
know how is each shingle is going to have its own little wire system.
No, well, so here's the thing: is there's a strip that goes across, and
Uh-huh.
those shingles plug into that strip, and that strip is where the wires and stuff are housed. Not every shingle is a solar panel. They only
Ah,
give you enough solar panel to fit the
for the
need, or
house.
to fit your needs. The rest of them are just shingles that look like the solar panel shingles.
Oh, that's cool.
So that way, because otherwise, I mean, yeah, you're talking like $100,000 to buy that
Yeah.
many solar panel shingles. So you're just doing the amount that you need, and then the rest of them are built
Kind of
just
around
to
it.
look like, just
Mhm.
to look like it. So did you know
I
that?
mean, again, I like the idea, but
Yeah.
just with the way our infrastructure is right now and everything, it's going to be really. I have hope. I'm
Yes.
optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
It'll get there. It'll get there. But I mean, so roofs are something that you have to consider when you're selling a home, when you're buying a home. I was looking up some stats earlier, and Florida accounts for 79% of insurance lawsuits.
I believe
Is
it.
one of the
That's got to be
stats
number
that.
one. Is that number one?
What do you mean?
Are we number one
Number.
out
Well,
of all the
no, that's what I'm.
states?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, Florida accounts for 79% of all lawsuits, while the rest of the country is 21%.
Oh yeah, so we're number one.
So yeah. 15
Jesus.
companies 15 companies have gone out of business. I didn't see the time frame that was, but basically we are lacking 15. Not that doesn't count the ones that just left Florida. That's just the ones that have gone out of business because they came to Florida and then they just lost their everything. They couldn't
Everything.
handle it. And they closed shop.
It's a lot of. It's mainly fraud. Like all the lawsuits, and it's mainly fraud.
It is.
And the roofing companies that are coming in, doing assignment of benefits. Remember, we spoke with Victoria from Stone Key Insurance.
Yeah.
She was kind of breaking it down for us that like there are so many roofing companies that door knock and say like, hey, you can get a roof based off of the storm that probably didn't even occur.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing is you're releasing assignment of benefits to the company to sue your insurance company on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, that's not the best way to go, because that could be tied up in litigation for like a year, 2 years legal battle. And all the while, like, you need a new roof.
Yeah.
And you're not getting it until the insurance pays out, and then the company comes through. There's a couple of companies. One, they just changed their name. It was Jasper Roofing. They changed their name to forgot now. That pretty much still do the same thing. They just
Mm-hmm.
door knock and
Yeah.
make you sign assignment of benefits signed over, and
Yep.
next you know you're in an unnecessary legal battle with your insurance
Correct.
company that you had no intention to do or to be a part
Yep.
of, and you've
Correct.
also hurt your own ability to get future insurance because
New insurance. Yeah.
they're going to see
That
that
you have.
you did a lawsuit with your previous insurance, or like,
Yep.
if I was an insurance company, I'm like,
I'm not
why
gonna
would I
touch this person.
I'm not going to touch this person. This guy sued
Right.
their last person, their
Yep.
last insurance company. I'm not touching
Yeah.
that.
Of course not.
So
Yeah.
don't
So
screw yourselves.
Yep. So that wraps up kind of the trends that we're seeing for 2023, what you can expect if you're buying a home or if you're selling a home. These are some of the things that you should focus on, because that is a question that we get a lot. You know, hey, what should I update this or should I update that? You know, so it's those are some of the things. The next thing I want to we're going to go into our normal, regularly scheduled investment chat. So, investment chat. So each episode, I'm going to try to talk about some sort of topic related to investments. And today we're going to talk about cap rate, which is also known as capitalization rate. Are you familiar with cap rate there, Chris?
Yeah, a little bit. Cap rate is usually something on a more commercial side, and I guess investments. But usually, if you're a landlord of a commercial strip plaza, this is going to be very important for you. And I guess anything on a large scale, you should definitely look at the cap rate. But depending on what your investment is, cap rate may not be the most important thing.
It might
to you.
not, but it's definitely something to look at. So capitalization rate, basically, it's the rate of return that a real estate investment, you're going to get, the amount of money that you're going to get back, how long it's going to take you, and it kind of gives you an idea. It's a percentage. A typical cap rate should be somewhere around between 5 and 7.5%. So if the cap rate is a little bit higher, it's a higher return, but typically it means that it's going to have a little bit higher risk. If it's a lower cap rate, you know, if it's 5 or less, then you're not getting as much of a return, or it's going to take you longer to basically recoup the investment, your ROI, return of investment. It's going to take you a little bit longer, and it's a little bit lower risk, so it's a little bit of a safer option. The one, you know, in the middle, somewhere between 5 and 7.5%. That's what most investors are looking at.
Yep, that's what I've encountered for most of the commercial experience that I've seen, and it's a very simple formula too.
It is.
So, you know, did you already go over the formula? Something we can explain, I'm sure.
No, not yet. So yeah, the formula is just basically you're looking at the sales price. So if you're buying, let's say you're an investor and you're buying something, you're looking at the sales price, and then typically the seller, or, you know, part of their marketing package, they're either going to tell you a cap rate of what they're saying. So then from that you can determine what your yearly net is going to be, or they'll show you what their net is, and then from that you can determine your cap rate. So basically, if you have a sales price and you have the cap rate, basically the sales price times the cap rate. So like, for example, if you're buying let's say you're buying like a multifamily complex, and it's $1.5 million, and their marketing says, hey, we're selling this for a 7.5% cap rate, which is good. It's on the higher side. You get a little bit higher net income, yearly net income. And so 1.5 million times 7.5%. I've already done the math in my head. Okay, it's $112,500. So that would ultimately be your net income on like every year. So, and that doesn't mean it's only going to be that. If you go in, you improve the property, you improve your margins, you might turn it into where you're making 120,000 net profit or something like that, which then you can sell the property for more, and you can still keep that same 7.5% cap rate, because that's what investors are going to look for. But now you've raised the value of the property because you've raised the net income. You've fine-tuned the the process, so to
Mhm.
speak, to make some money. Have you looked at for your rental? Have you looked at what you think, or did you guys come up with some sort of what your anticipated net yearly net income will be?
Yearly net income,
Mm-hmm.
we did, and honestly, the first couple of years will be a little slow because we have to pay off the debt that we've incurred.
Right.
So the first year we should be at around 12 to 15 for net.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, once it once the expenses are paid,
Mm-hmm.
um, it should be it should go up significantly. It should go up
Yeah.
like quite a bit actually. It should be
Yeah.
I can probably do the math real quick for you.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, the so
20
that cap rate.
it should be around 25-30 once it's
Okay.
paid off. So
Nice.
the thing is, like the first year or two, we're actually not gonna take any profit. So so we're
It
not putting
goes
money in our pocket. We're actually gonna
pay down
just pay
some
it
of the
down.
debt.
We're just
Yep.
gonna do like a revolving, like a it's
Right.
just when the money's coming out, it's going right back in. Money coming out, right back in, and so
Gotcha.
until it's paid off, and that way we can really just receive the fruits of our labor at that point. After that,
Gotcha.
and the economy is going to go up. The area is amazing. We were only improving the house and the location. So not the location, the land. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be it's going to be one hell of a valuable asset, and
Yeah.
like within 2-3 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's so yeah, and part of that, if you ever did sell it, part of your marketing package would be to include that cap rate, because
Mhm.
then that boom, it tells the investor this is
Yeah.
what I should be making if I'm going to be at a 7.5%.
And if I
cap
do
rate.
everything, you're right, absolutely. And the thing is, I have two ways to sell it too. I can sell it as a business, or I
Mhm.
can sell it as a
Just
residential, or like as a
Correct.
just
Yep.
as a home. So
Yep.
I can sell it as either or. And if the business shows to be more fruitful, then I'll do that. Because
Yeah.
what's cool about business is that you can hang on by a piece of it through royalties. So like,
Yeah.
my business is generating X number of dollars. I want 5% a month for the next 10 years,
Right.
5% of the net proceeds for 10 months. Like, oh shit. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and a business person will see that and be like, okay, that's not bad. And next thing you know, like I'm getting a passive income. And if I did that with multiple properties, there's so many things you can do.
Oh, I know. Yep.
And there's no rules.
Yeah.
There's some rules, but there's no rules to creativeness. It really
That
isn't.
is-
I'm working with one seller right now who does all kinds of stuff, and he's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
So
Nice. So
I learned from
that kind of sums up, cap rate. I know
him.
cap rate's very important for me when I'm looking at mobile home parks and everything. That is a big part of the marketing package when you're looking to purchase a mobile home park. Cap rate is right there, and we're all looking for, a certain range somewhere in that, 5 to 7.5%. Trying to get the best deal possible, but also you have to make sure it just makes money with your net income. You don't want to buy something that's really high price and then you're getting, almost no income, or, the income doesn't offset what the price you're paying for it.
Yeah. And for us, like the cap rate isn't that important and it comes to like short-term Airbnb. It's
Right.
about the occupancy and the
Correct.
cash on cash flow.
Right.
That's what's important for us.
Yep. So, but if you have questions about that, or if it's confusing, I enjoy talking about this stuff. Give me a call, shoot me an email. It's always I always enjoy it, and I learn the more I talk about it. The only way you learn about this stuff is if you actually talk to people about it.
Yeah.
And and then you actually do it. So being in the mobile home park business now, that it's actually, some of the numbers are starting to finally make sense as far as, my return of investment, what I've made so far in previous years, and then cap rates, and how the whole process of cash out refinance that we talked about, in the last or one of the last episodes, and so on. So I mean, it's yeah, you just got to do it, man. You just got to start talking about it. Just do it.
All right, Shia LaBeouf.
All right. Yes, right.
Just do it.
Just do it. All right. So, the next segment here, we're talking about some stuff that's out of the ordinary for real estate. And this isn't so much out of the ordinary, but one of the things that I thought was kind of cool during the time that I was looking for different topics and what people are interested in, what they want to hear about, was a quick history of real estate. Now, this isn't going to be like a PhD course. We're not going to sit here and talk for 2 hours on the history of real estate. This is not a dyno. I mean, to be honest, I don't have enough knowledge
I like to be
to
bored,
sit here
man.
for 2 hours and talk about the history of real estate. But, that was one thing, like going through the classes and stuff. There's a little bit of history that's sort of tied to some of the laws and stuff that came out, some of the different acts and things, that are protection acts and stuff that came out. You learn, the dates of those, but you don't really learn like the history of, when the first sale of real estate was and stuff like that. I mean, I don't remember learning. Do you? You remember learning anything like that?
No. Like
No.
they gave us, I don't really remember the history. They just really just pointed out like the significance, and if you did this, you're in trouble. And that's what the things to look out for. So, that's really what it kind of came down to for like the overall history of the real estate. I have no idea where to begin, how I pretty much got to where we are. This is going to be pretty cool for me. Learning from you.
So basically what I found, and I'll just run through it real quick, and just so as to not bore everybody, unless I'm getting too monotone or you want to interject there, Chris, on something. But
okay.
So basically in the 1890s, is when the first real estate transactions were recorded. I guess they had real estate transactions before that, but they just never wrote them down. So now in the 1890s is when somebody said, we should probably start writing this stuff down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was land wars, right? Just like, this is my land, that's my land.
Yeah.
Do you have any proof of this? Just
right.
Like, all right, we're gonna start recording this shit.
I put my flag in it first.
I know, right? Put my flag in it. I don't like your flag. Mine's better.
I don't like your flag. I don't like your
face.
You literally, like, you had to protect your land that you just claimed with guns and stuff. Like, you'd stand there on your land with your guns, and if somebody came and shot and killed you, hey, guess what? It's their land now.
Yeah.
Is that where that song came from? This is my land.
This land is your land. This land is my land.
I shot you with my shotgun, and I took your land.
I took your land. Killed all the bison to the
maybe it's.
Oh boy!
I think we should.
Let's just get through this. Okay, so in the 1890s, we recorded the first transactions.
And then 1892 was the first attempt to create a real estate association, which happened in Nashville, Tennessee. But then it wasn't until 1908 where the National Association of Real Estate Exchange was founded.
Cool.
So they tried it in 1892, and then it took them, what is that, like 16 years to actually come back and make it official.
Yeah.
The first open houses were called Open for Inspection, and those started in about 1910. So Open for Inspection, I kind of like that.
I kind of like that a little more. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Open for Inspection. So those started in 1910, and then in 1913, the Code of Ethics was created for agents by the National Association of Real Estate Exchanges. Now we have the National Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
But you'll see later the word realtor, actually in 1916, is when the word realtor was coined. Not realtor, it's realtor.
There's no A in between the A and the L. There's no A in between the L and the T.
Correct. So it's just realtor.
Realtor.
So that was coined in 1916, and then check this one out. Michigan. So they had this association, but nobody was required to have a license to practice real estate. Michigan was the first state to require a real estate license, which then, and I don't have the year written on here, so I'm not sure. I'm sometime after 1916. But Michigan did it, and then the rest of the country was like, okay, I guess we gotta do that
I guess
too.
we'll do this. It makes sense.
I guess why not? I mean, it makes sense. People are dealing with lots of money and people's emotions and feelings. They got to make sure that, we're following some rules and code of ethics and everything. So 1938, the government established the Federal National Mortgage Association, which is also known as Fannie Mae. Most of you may have heard of that if you're applying for a mortgage loan. So that was in 1938. And then in the 1940s, open houses were, so get this, open houses were the most popular way to sell a house. Now it's probably the least popular way. Like, you don't sell a house with open houses now. But in the 40s, that was the most popular way to sell a house.
Because if you think about it, it makes sense because there was no real, there was a little bit of TV, but there wasn't much. There was mainly radio, and then there was the newspaper. And so, and on top of that, what did families used to do on a Sunday or a Saturday? They used to drive around. They used to drive around and find something to do. Remember the term Sunday drive? Let's go for, that term? Let's go. The Sunday drive?
Sunday drive, yeah.
It's because families used to just get into the old station wagon and just drive around a Sunday drive. And so they would drive around like, oh, look, here's this nice neighborhood with open house. Let's go take a look. And that's how they found out about it. That's how they knew about real estate.
Yeah.
It wasn't online, web. That's why like open houses still happens. But it's
not as much.
Not nearly as prevalent as 98% of buyers are searching online for the next home.
Yes. Yep. But
or property.
So yeah, 1940s open houses were the most popular way or technique to sell a home. So then brings us to 1968. That is when the Fair Housing Act was passed, which, if you're not familiar with that is the act that prevented discrimination in housing, and it's based on race, color, sex, religion, national origin, things like that. So it prevented people from, because there was a time where you could not sell, or agents would not sell a house, or so a seller would not sell a house to somebody because of one of those things that I mentioned. So the government came out with the Fair Housing Act in 1968,
which is really good. It's probably the best thing that could have ever It's one of the best things that could have ever happened.
Definitely,
the Fair Housing Act.
Yeah. 1970, the government created Freddie Mac. So 1938, they created Fannie Mae, and then in 1970, Freddie Mac. Not going to go into the differences between those two, but it has to do with loans and whatnot. So that brings us to 1980. And in 1980, it's significant because home prices rose more than 200% since the 40s. So over a period of 40 years, it rose 200%.
Wasn't there a significant recession in the 80s?
I can't remember when it was, but it was right around there. And also in 1981 is when the interest rates were at like 18 to 20% for mortgage interest rates. Yeah. If you find a chart, if you just do a Google search and you find history of mortgage interest rates, and you'll see that spike in like 1981, and they were up to like 18 to 20% range. Now, granted, the home prices were not what they are today, but in 1980 terms, they were, they were
really
expensive.
Extremely
and then you tack
expensive.
on an 18 or an 18% mortgage rate. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So
which is nuts. Let's
see. So then moving on 13 years later to 1993, real estate listings became available online to the public through the MLS, or multiple listing service. So in 1993, that's when the MLS started coming about. And if you're not familiar, it's basically like a system where
services.
We can put in homes that are for sale, and then it gets sent out to websites. And I mean, now it's all online, and we can easily see everything. And it's, houses are pulled from it. Like Zillow pulls all their listings, or it's not Zillow listings. They but they pull the ones that they show from
Yeah.
the MLS system.
Yep.
I'm sure it was very rudimentary back in 1993, maybe even like a command line base, where you could just see textual information.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 1993. And then we all know what iBuying is. We've all heard of that. That started in 2014. That was sort of when the whole iBuying thing, if you're not familiar, it's basically big companies that are coming in. They'll put an offer on your house for cash, and then they'll buy it at a lower price is what their hope is.
And charge you an arm and a leg for it.
Correct. And then they turn around, they flip it and make a profit, or that's their business plan anyway. They're basically doing what small investors do, but on a bigger scale, and they have a lot more power because they have a lot more capital and a lot more backing, and so they can do it on a big scale. And then kind of brings us to the current, where 2020 global pandemic led agents expanding for more options for buyers and sellers to be online. That sort of spawned a lot of virtual open houses. And a lot of like virtual tours is what became sort of the forefront of real estate transactions. Have you sold any of your houses where it was just through like virtual tours or anything?
Plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty. I've assisted a lot of out-of-state buyers over the years, and the first time they saw it was with me in a camera, just at the home, just doing this, and so far, knock on wood, they've all been really happy with the purchase because I'm there looking out for their needs, and so that was, and what were issues weren't issues. So, knock on wood, everyone's been pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's
have you?
It's crazy. I have done a bunch of virtual tours. I have not transacted anything based on a virtual tour. It's being over here in Volusia County, a lot of people are buying vacation homes. They really want to make sure that the location, they're on the beach, they're, whatever. I haven't transacted one, but I've done quite a few virtual tours. But it's kind of cool to think that something in our era is going to be in history. So when somebody's doing a podcast about us, about this 100 years from now, they're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, in 2020 there was a pandemic and they did virtual tours. Now it's all holograms and or whatever they have. Tour? Yeah, what's that?
What's a cell phone?
Right? What's a cell phone?
It's I just have this camera. Yeah, it's all Neuralink.
It's all or you have like a contact lens that you can just video chat anybody you want at any time.
It's gonna be like that one episode of Black Mirror.
Yes.
Where they all had his contact, and it's facial recognition. You can see everything about them, their credits, their social credit score, their status.
You know what? That's kind of what we're going to. There's some stuff out there that we have a social ranking. I forget what it's called, but there's some banks out there that are moving towards that system where you have the bank.
A digital banking system, and they're going to have control over it. You think they prop it up like it's a good, safe, secure, but
nope.
The dark side is that if you speed, they're going to come right in and take your shit.
I can tell you some friends of mine, some really good friends of mine, were banking at Chase Bank, and they just had their personal accounts. Chase called them and said, hey, you have 2 months, clear out your accounts, you can go somewhere else.
Why?
And the only thing we could think of, I mean, she called and they couldn't get an answer out of them. They kept saying, it's like, well, we're not required to give you an answer. We're just required to tell you that your accounts are being closed. There was nothing nefarious going on. There's no, they have plenty of money in the bank. They're not, overdrafting or anything like that. It's just the only thing we could think of is their spending habits didn't fit with what the banks whatever it didn't
politically maybe.
Correct. Yeah, and it might have been that it didn't fit with the bank's views, and therefore it was bringing down their score. And I can't remember what that score is called, but it was that's the only thing we could think of.
It was bringing down the bank's score.
Right, because they want to clean out everybody that doesn't fit, that doesn't fall in line with what the bank, to get them the highest score. So if you're going against that,
are they even snooping against our shit anyways? They shouldn't have right to just take a look at our stuff.
Exactly. So they have since moved out of their personal accounts out of Chase. They're moving their business accounts out of Chase. The business didn't get kicked out, but they're like, I don't want to take the chance. We're just going to go ahead and move everything. And they're moving over to credit unions because credit unions aren't a part of that digital scoring, whatever it's called. And I just can't think of what it is. But it's crazy, but it's here. It's coming. That's the only thing we can think of. Only thing we can think of.
We're going to be slaves again.
Yep.
We're going to be slaves again.
Right. Well, that is the end of the show. Appreciate everybody watching or listening, whichever you are doing. If you are watching it, you can also check us out on the audio version on any podcast app. iHeartRadio, Spotify is a big one, or just whatever app you use on your phone. You can just search Whiskey with an Agent, hit subscribe on there, and then you'll get the newest and latest episodes.
Toast to y'all later.
Yeah.